Hello everyone, it is Laura again, and I am here to show you all a soap that I made. For this soap, I used 2 new colorants that I've never before used. I'm going to show you what those colorants are. I'm going to show you how it turned out with those colorants. And at the end, as I always do, I'm going to review the soap. So please follow along. Okay, so here we go with the soap. Let me first start by talking about the colorants. Now, as I told you in the intro to this video, this was my first time using 2 new ingredients in my natural soaps. The first one is Brazilian yellow clay. I put a little here so that you all can see how it looks. I'm not sure if it will focus. There we go. As you see, it's not a very bright yellow, so I want to show that to you in case you're someone who hasn't used it yet. The other ingredient that it was my first time using was this moringa powder, or to be more specific, moringa leaf powder. This is how it looks. And this actually was one of the suggestions of a very nice follower of mine. And this color was suggested because for anybody who's watched my previous videos, you know that I am aiming to get a little bit brighter green than I would get from like a French green clay, or even some of the other botanicals that kind of turn into a dull green or brown when it goes through the saponification process. I'll talk a little bit about how that worked for me too as we look at the soap. The idea I had behind this soap was to collect information about 3 things. The color that I could get from the moringa leaf powder, the color I could get from the yellow Brazilian clay, and the color that I could get by mixing both of those together. So that's the idea behind the 3 layers that I created in the soap. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually talk about how these soaps turned out. I'll start with what went well. Of course, you all know that I am on that search for a brighter color green. So I think I have a nice sample here to show me what color could be yielded from that moringa leaf powder. I am classifying this as what went well because the shade of green, although I do want it to be a little brighter, I do like this option of a green. Hopefully I'll be able to find something that will yield an even brighter color green maybe in the future. But in terms of this color green, I do think it's a nice option. As for the shade that came from the Brazilian yellow clay, I do like that color as well. And it's nice to have an alternative to what I typically use for yellow, which is an infused oil such as turmeric. So it is nice to have an alternative, especially because clays tend to not have the same problem as infusions when it comes to fading over time. When working with natural soaps, that is something of importance because you don't want your soaps to lose their color over time, of course. As for what did not go well, I've got 2 main things. First off, this soap did reach trace very quickly, and I'll cover why when I talk about what I learned from this experience. But I'm mentioning it at this point because on the ends, you'll see on most bars, there is a little space there. And that's because the soap batter reached such a thick trace that it didn't fall completely into the mold to fill in all the spaces. Also, for the very first time ever in my soaping experience, I have gotten the DOS. For those people who are in soap making, you might know what that is, but the dreaded orange spots, I've heard of them, but I've never experienced it in my soap. On the soap, you get these little orange specks. What my understanding was about dreaded orange spots is that that came from oils that were old. So I was a little confused because I knew all the oils that I use had not yet expired. So I didn't quite understand why I got the orange spots. Doesn't keep it from being usable, but aesthetically I wouldn't want that on there. Okay, so now for what I learned from this soaping experience. I learned a lot about the colors that I can expect to get from these 2 additives in my soap. In fact, what's really interesting is that the soap immediately, when I poured it into the mold, I could feel that it was really, really hot. And I live here in Florida. Not that the room is super hot, but it is not cool. And because of that, I know that I was going to need to be very cautious about it overheating. So what I did was, after letting it sit for a short period of time in the room temperature, feeling that it was getting hotter, I went ahead and popped the soap into the refrigerator at first, but then moved it into the freezer. So I have a partial gel in this soap. So you can see it here most obviously on the end piece. The darker green. This is what I would get from the Moringa leaf powder if it fully gelled. And then the lighter green around the edge of the bottom is what I would get if I was to go ahead and immediately pop it into the freezer and allow it to not gel at all. So I did learn a lot about the coloring that I could expect from the Moringa leaf powder, as well as from the Brazilian yellow clay. Another thing that I learned was that this particular recipe that I wrote for this soap was not the best one to do with 3-layer soap that would require a little more time to work with. When it comes to making a formula for soap, you need to make sure that you have enough of the unsaturated fats, or else it will end up accelerating the trace. Saturated fats are the thicker butters, oils that would make it so that the soap is harder. Unsaturated fats are things such as oils that are liquid at room temperature. The average percentage of unsaturated fats that people use in their soaps is about 30 to 45% of the soap recipe. For this particular recipe, without thinking about it, I ended up using 65% of saturated fats, meaning that I only had 35% of unsaturated fats. And because I used a recipe like that, it ended up getting to a thicker trace pretty quickly. So what I learned from this is just to be a little more cognizant of the oils and butters that I'm using, especially keeping in mind how much time I'm going to need to work with the recipe. Okay, and that is all that I have for you all today. I appreciate you all following along, seeing how I made this soap with Moringa leaf powder and with Brazilian yellow clay. As always, if you like what you've seen with this video, or you're interested in more soap making chronicles that I go on, please subscribe to my channel and feel free to comment below. I love hearing from people who have suggestions or anyone who wants to challenge me with anything. And I appreciate you all following along. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.